Games have their limits, some more than others, whether it be Minecraft with its vast world with almost infinite possibilities, or Gary's mod where you can create something from scratch and easily distribute it to the world. Some people look for the limits in difficulty, whether it be humanly possible or not. People want to find the limits to everything. This is no different from Geometry Dash, where difficulty is limitless. People can create levels and upload them whether they are hard or even automatic. Some levels go beyond that, testing the human limit to the highest potential. This is about the impossible levels list Iceberg. This community revolves around the difficulty of levels that are so incredibly hard that the top one at the time, Tartarus, is all the way down at the 235th spot. This Iceberg shows what the community is about and how it works. Audionautix is a popular GD YouTuber with 70,000 subscribers. He once made a video on the ILL giving a boost of recognition to the player base and community. The longest lasting top one on the list, staying at the top one for 11 months straight. It was made by the owners of the list at the time and received multiple updates, whether to buff it or fix physically impossible parts. Many people know of KRX's fixed version, which drastically nerfed the level while still being physically impossible. This level is also where the gameplay trope of minus waves began. The clicks per second rule, also known as the 15 CPS rule, is one of the most important rules that the levels on the list need to abide by. This rule disallows levels that force the player to click more than 50 times in a second, as well as disallowing levels that have a click rate of over 18 to 20 CPS. This rule was made to prevent the list from becoming effortless spam levels like silent circles. However, certain levels that broke this rule would eventually be fixed to be under 50 CPS, such as Kingdom of Miraculous, Silent Circles, and the Realm of Bloodshadow. Some people don't know this and assume the list to be a list ranking of spam levels and dismiss the concept of the list. The Silent series is rather self-explanatory. It's referring to the series which most impossible levels originated from. Nowadays, the term silent is often used to describe poorly made impossible levels that don't put any effort into the gameplay, such as Shafts, Metathesis, Dolor Materna, and others. Because of the somewhat confusing concept of the list, many people have been confused about what the level list is about and have spread misinformation. The most well example of this list would be Audionautix's video, where he thinks the list ranks physically impossible levels. Another example would be the misconception that the list ranks spam levels like Dolor Materna and Shafts. This spawns certain memes as such as how can you rank impossible levels? This is a statement V says here used to ask if the part of a level was under 15 CPS. This had an obvious answer. It was no. This became a common question asked by new members all the time, and even got a server emote based off the frequently asked question. This is a statement used by players that are oblivious to the fact that pixel perfects don't really mean anything in Geometry Dash, due to being an auto-scrolling game, and frame perfects is actually the correct term. People use this term and are actually made fun of or used jokingly. The ILL has promised a website for a long time, and recently some people have volunteered to create a website using the Point and Create API. Minus waves are the nickname given to waves that rip off the wave at 55% from Minus Club. What makes a minus wave is a 2-player dual wave in a less than 1 space gap, with gravity portals and spikes along the path. Levels that use minus waves include Wistfully, Joke Submission, Ballistic Wistfully, and Arcturus. Many people, upon seeing the list for the first time, overlook that the rule that 2-player levels are judged by the difficulty to complete them solo. This leads to levels like Codependence and Tenkai being above Tartarus, despite them being completed legitimately by multiple people at a time. People of 10 cite this as a reason the list is inaccurate when overlooking that rule. The Silent Levels list was the side list to the ILL that was made to rank levels that were over 16 CPS, and playtested less extensively, and overall to be a significantly more lenient list of impossible levels. Some levels that ended up coming from the list include Dolorem Eterna, Shafts, and Metathesis. The current ILL was created by the continuation of the old impossible list, but more strict. This list was made back in 2016 on the GD forums and run by Ultravenom, the Chaotic Nico, and Carbano. Popular levels on this list included Back on Darkness, Kingdom of Miraculous, and the Realm of Bloodshadow. Professional Funny Man is a custom role made for Iwi for the memes he created for the server and having the most pinned messages. This is the only custom role in the entire server that has specifically made for one person. Historical significance is a rule that lets levels that don't meet the quality rules to be put on the list if they are well known enough. The biggest example of this would be Silent Circles, known for the list as Silent Circles 15. Another example includes Silent Mountain, the second silent level. This rule is often overlooked as old levels are criticized for not meeting standards. This is referring to when Wistfully was originally submitted by Ellen and it was physically impossible. There was also 15 plus CPS everywhere. Lullaby made a large message of all the spots where this was the case, titled Wistfully Review, and it was ridiculously large. Most of the levels broke rules, and it took a long time for the level to be fully fixed. Real Life is a super hard buff of High Life that has been in the works for 5+ years. It is being created by Aura and other people. The level is planned to extend to the very end of the song. An old version titled Real Life 2019 is currently top 10 on the ILL, and the final version is aiming for top 1 once finished. This level is also where the real life jump comes from, with it being used in almost every Aura level. Audionautix was a level that was top 1 when released. It consisted of just a single memory maze. The reason it was so hard is that most of the timings in the level were 5,760 FPS frame perfects. The level itself was harder than Minus Club and Kingdom of Miraculous, the top levels at the time. The level itself caused a huge shit show in the Impossible Levels list server as people were going crazy finding out a maze was the new top 1. The level abused the fact that mazes weren't considered repetitive gameplay, meaning the mods had to fix the rule for the level to be removed. It was made by the owner of the list at the time, VTI to point out this flaw in the rules to other mods. Nanosecond was also released during the shit show and was harder and longer than Autosecond, but it was very quickly removed due to being impossible. Pixelation is one of the most infamous people to ever have joined. He was in the list server for a couple of months and grew a reputation for joke submitting and overall being annoying. While he did have some levels on the list, such as Kong Never Clear, and they were there for a while, he screwed himself when Alin, a Krazen victim, joined. Pixelation pinged them with a grooming joke. They were immediately and permanently muted, and after mutivating, he was banned. He then created a level called 4ILL, where it was shown he completely misunderstood the reason he was banned and called everyone stupid, and put several crash triggers in the level. And it ended up being a bit of a shit show. with the level itself being sent to certain Twitch streamers as well.
I mean, no offense, but I don't really know the background. Oh, and it crashes, actually. It's one of those okay.
I don't know what crazy means. Why did you send this to me? Wait. I'm so confused. Bye, retards.
Well, Pixelation will become a meme from now on, and to this day, he still occasionally leaves comments on ILL levels about the incident, as how he wishes to be unbanned, typically calling the staff awful, and even going as far as to say Lynn was responsible for getting him banned. This is the first message in the entire server. It was sent by Lullaby, the creator of the list and server. The impossible level list and its conflicts with Tosh have lasted for a while now. Tosh Deluxe would join the server and misunderstand the point of the list and being a bit of a douche about it, but nothing came up until a couple weeks later, when he released his Unnerved Kingdom of Miraculous video, which was part of his one-clip series where he would no-clip a level with speed hacks instead of botting it. In this video, people immediately noticed he nerfed the level in several spots. After they called him out on this, he never addressed anything at all. But FNM04 would also go on to get frustrated about this and would go into call with all botters. But FNM04 would also go on to ask why he didn't bot the level instead of doing what he did for his video. Tosh got frustrated about this and would go on to call all botters lazy and effortless, going as far as to change his Discord status to making effortless botters mad. Tosh would kinda become a bit of a meme on the server and people would make fun of him. A good amount of time passes and some members of the ILL server spam pinged him to be toxic and got muted. In a separate event, a few members joined Tosh's server, all at the same time to be annoying, and Tosh immediately thought it was the ILL raiding him. Red Husu would join in the coming days to figure out why Tosh wasn't liked in the community. He completely ignored all the reasons people didn't like him and never addressed any arguments made. He eventually threatened to get the server taken down because of the 6 or so members that spanned Tosh, which were muted for a while for their actions by the way. Husi was banned for threatening to do so, and Tosh and the ILL communities haven't been friendly after. Tosh is still a meme in the server, but most people don't take it seriously at all. Dolor Materna has been created to be the hardest of all impossible levels, being known as the hardest possible level ever to be created. This level is 16 hours long with around 333,000 CPS need to get through the extremely small gap with the wave. Upon getting popular, the level has become a meme as some people join as why it isn't on the list despite it breaking nearly all the rules. Super Clutterfunk was a level created by Aura. The level was an impossible buff date to Clutterfunk, in the same way that real life is a buff to high life, and it was top 10 when released. The level had some controversy around it as many people thought the level sucked. It was on the list for a while until it was removed for having 2.1 gameplay in an older style level. This entry on the Iceberg refers to when people found out the real life location of the name Minus Music Club. When they checked the reviews, one of them said they simply robbed us. The place itself was infamous for drugging people and stealing things off of them. Wow. Silent Matter was an old 2.0 impossible level created by Volumi. Almost every single click in the level was intentionally physically impossible. The level became a meme and a running joke in the ILL because of how bizarre the level was. The level is currently lost today and only a video remains. Minus Club was also an official sequel to this level. The Condivix list was another impossible levels list that had much worse quality than the ILL or the SLL, and it was run by an impossible level creator, Condivix. Many of the levels on the list were physically impossible and had poor quality. The list became a bit of a meme in the ILL itself, and eventually the list died when Itachi, one of the owners, decided to completely destroy the list one day due to disliking the list. This entry refers to the levels on the list that weren't playtested correctly and are physically impossible. While the list cracked down on these a while ago, Some may still remain on the list today, waiting to be found. Most of the recent controversy was with the level Singularity, which was number 3, and improper playtesting led it to be physically impossible and needing it to be fixed. Several purges have happened over the history of the server that cleared many levels from the list. The most important one is often called the Purge, and removed most of the top 30. Mods realized many of the levels didn't meet gameplay quality. A large vote was had to decide if gameplay standards should be enforced more leniently or not. More people voted for the gameplay standards to be more strict, and many levels were removed. Very few of them stayed, however, as those levels fell under historical significance. This is typically referred to as submission ban. These come out when an influx of people were submitting very low quality levels from the list. To sort this out, users who frequently did as much would get submission ban, meaning they wouldn't be able to submit to the list. Nowadays, it was renamed list mute / ban, and now restricts access to list discussion and list submissions. A popular upcoming level intended to be top 1 by far. This level is filled with high CPS frame perfects on 720 FPS. Some parts have publicly shown, and the level seems to be in high quality as well as high in difficulty. Blanket Attic is a server member who often talks about interesting GD bugs and ways to make impossible levels using them. He had multiple upcoming levels planned to be top 1, however rules were added to prevent them from going on the list. Upon learning of the methods used, example of the type of gimmick levels he planned to include was an 80-year-long level, a level that looks easy but has invisible 80,000 frame perfect spam, and a level that abuses swift clicks on high FPS. Refraction Zero is an account that started off as a joke to fake completions and progress on impossible levels, and then became used as an account to get some of the staff members to shitpost on. It was generally being used as an outlet to be toxic towards other members without punishment. However, later on, the account got permanently muted.
How do you say this Pokemon name?
There's an emote called Krokorok after the problematic user was underage and liked to roleplay as the Pokemon Krokorok.
Dude, that sounds so goddamn stupid.
Formerly part of the list, the withheld list was a place for levels that were considered lost but had theoretical copies on some inaccessible account. Examples of the levels on the list include the original 111 RG. Some of the levels that were on this list were eventually restored or released, like Cautious or Master Red's Cave. This is referring to the period of time where Lullaby left the server for a while and nobody knew where he went. They left after an argument with KRX and ILL, and they completely disappeared from the entire internet without notice. After a month, he gave owner away, with some people thinking he'd never return. There was a brief window of time where Sloom could have been top 1 if it was submitted. Both it and Minus Club, the number 1 and number 2 of the levels at the time, were found physically impossible and both had fixes being made. Sloom was finished and fixed without being submitted for about a day, but then Minus Club was re-added, making Sloom only possible to be number 2 again. In an alternate reality, Sloom added at number 1 could have been a list update. People ended up finding certain places in the real world that happened to be names from ILL levels. Some examples include Minus Music Club and Sloom, which was a mattress store. A list was made for some of the places based off the ILL list at the time, and it is one of the best memes to come from the server. Trial rules are a former addition to the list where mods would do a trial upon adding new rules before officially adding them. The main reason for this was to assess the damages a new rule could do to the list levels. This was only really used during the gameplay standards purge and has been replaced by the annotation system. S439292929298765433, often nicknamed S Numbers. It was a 1.6 themed impossible level created by Iwi, which was added to the list and later removed at the request of the creator after having them marked for removal for being physically impossible several times. The level itself was disliked for having bad deco, bad gameplay, and following the 1.6 update poorly. The level had also been marked many times for not meeting rules, and Iwi had the level removed as to not further waste mods' time. Iwi attempted to make the level lost by having all videos privated or unlisted and deleting all copies. However, the original KRX uploaded can still be found with some digging, and he later re-uploaded 2 versions of it. Ballistic Wisply is the most recent top 1 level on the list. The way the song had been chosen by was typing random numbers to get a random song that they had to work with. At some point, Remy thought it would be a great idea to ping at everyone for no reason. They did so and were immediately demoted. Thankfully, this only happened when the server had less than 500 members, instead of its current member count, which is far greater. Grass Guy was a controversial member in the server, and he was in there for a long time and was banned twice. The first ban was when he mutivated for being warned several times for being toxic and occasionally not safe for work. He got muted and DM'd DOE to send something in chat, which was considered mute evasion. He was banned after that, but later got unbanned and stayed on the server for a good amount of time after that. He still remained disliked and eventually banned for disrespecting staff and being generally immature and problematic after Volumi found messages of him spamming Communist Septa after they left and sending various messages that were hateful towards other staff members. Void Club was a level made by Hyperbola with the intention of being an easy level that looked impossible. He shared his attentions with multiple staff members of the ILL and eventually got his level placed just below Minus Club, the level was inspired by. This caused a lot of people to believe its impossibility, which led to a shock on April Fools when he revealed that the level was easy the whole time. The level only got moved down instead of removed due to being considered impossible, which was seen as a bias from the mod team. This caused a controversy as former mods disliked the way the list handled the situation. Void Club was eventually removed. #shitpost was an original name of an off-topic until it was changed so that the server would sound more professional. Armadeus was formerly a list mod but left out of anger when he felt targeted by a set of new rules and most of the levels that he had on the list were removed. The list used to cite 876 as required FPS to beat Silent Akbar in the dual part. It was later found out that it can be done on 299 FPS, which made the level so much easier. Visionary at the time wanted Conjury to remain a top 5 level for the duration of the list, and kept constantly buffing the level whenever it got lower on the list. That is, until the level was found to be physically impossible and Visionary did lazy efforts to fix it, proving he didn't playtest the level. Conjury was then reverted to the old version, and Visionary got strongly advised not to update the level again. An old impossible level made by Gyani Blood, which got a fix by Nolly. This level was well liked by a lot of people, but was one of the many levels to get removed in the gameplay quality purge. This is considered the most liked removed level from the list currently. When KRX started the Impossible Challenges list server, he directly copied the rules and information from the ILL and changed a small part of it. This caused some issues when VTs looked over the server and was frustrated that the list basically plagiarized. Playtested with no clip is a phrase that originated from XD Jam Plays, an attempt to submit a fix of Rampant Circles, where they mentioned the fact that they playtest with no clip. This quickly became a joke in the server, as it is not a great idea to test something in no code. The century refers to when Kondovix posted not safe for work in general in the ILL and was immediately banned. No one knows why he did it, he just kinda did. Invictus was a collaboration started on a different server hosted by Yume and other people. It was said to be the hardest impossible level that a human could attempt before Yume actually knew the existence of the ILL anyway. Because of the level he was invited to, it was said to be harder than Minus Club, the current top one at the time there, but the level would never come out. Nolly, Depthflow, Remy, and other active ILL users were meant to be in the level. For April Fools, Yume planned to make an S-Numbers remake with the minus wave at the end and called Invictus. This didn't go through and he ended up making Sloom Guy vs Subsuming Cube instead. Some attempts were made to finish the level, but they all failed, and it's kind of a small joke between some of the creators nowadays. Singularity was originally playtested with MegaHack V6's integrated speed hacks. This was thought to be fine as long as the required FPS was a result of inverting the speed value and multiplying that with the current FPS. But in the case of the levels with frame perfects upwards of 3000 FPS, this was found to be an inaccurate method. Singularity was eventually fixed after being removed for being impossible. Certain levels on the list were removed but not notified in list updates. An example of this would be Suka Blatt by Anvos, which was removed with no announcement by Remy. The original version of Pizdek was set to be considerably harder than Minus Club. It was physically impossible at many points, and the final level had to be nerfed a lot in order to get on the list. It was eventually removed for being terrible quality in gameplay and decoration. It is now just a bit of a meme.
I'll tell Congress that good jobs are jobs, 'cause this whole system's rigged, and we all know the rigor. For the last 8 years, this country's been run by.
While testing Salient Clubstar, KRX found that mirror portals actually affect the game's physics. Using the no-flip hack also changed the physics by disabling their effect. The asterisk symbol is used when a fixed version is needed to make a level possible when the level in question was originally possible in a different update. However, there was once a fixed version of a level that had an asterisk, implying the fix needed a fix. No channel in the ILL has ever been deleted with the exception of General International. Instead, mods of the list decided to make them private and archive them. Some of these archive channels will be given joke names such as As I Mount, Swag City, and My Volcano. KRX was creating a bot to replace the bots that were added to the server upon hitting 1000 members. This bot turned out to be a pain to work with, and the other bots were easier anyway. So KRX gave up on the team using ILL bot, with its kick message just being useless. Mistake additions are a name given to levels that practically broke every single rule. Some of these levels included Orphic Paradox, which was set to be worse than Sloom, and it was so bad it skipped the mark for removal process entirely. Another level is called Dim, which was basically just a layout with no deco, and other levels such as Kong Never Clear and Dry Iced Tea. In the announcement channel, you can find staff promotions over time. One of these promotions was a deleted user, which used to be one of Wen's accounts. There have been multiple staff members that deleted their accounts in the past. This is a collaboration between Iwi, Rocco, Nico, and KRX. The level's name was short for Deadly Silent Salient Cataclub Star Club X version 10. This is referring to a 5-year-old comment on Salient Clubstar. It would have been top 15 as the level was started before the purge, but nothing ever came of it. While some attempts were made with Iwi and Rocco to revive the level, none of them have been successful. When Calculated Core was verified by Crazen, Volumi posted an announcement, RIP Zodiac, thinking it was the unnerved Calculated Core that was verified, which was supposed to be the new top 1 demon. This message was deleted when he realized the error. This is referring when, during the purge, when the historical significance poll was started and mods noticed that the poll was clearly being rigged. The staff immediately picked up on the fact that Iwi was the one responsible, but never officially punished him for it. Hitori Goto was a joke level made by Electro 2001, Akira Kurisu, and $C. This was on the list for several months after it came out. Nali asked Electro if he could be the official verifier, to which he responded yes. This is ironic considering Nali's past of hacking levels and not being a great player. In the very first version of the list, Bloodlust placement was severely underrated, being below things like Plasma Pulse Finale, Coretta, and even Arctic Lights. Sloomy list was created by The Grass Guy to rank levels and guess this, number of slooms. This was a joke based on many people disliking Sloom and associated with poor quality. Most people found his list incredibly unfunny, but he kept continuing with the joke and eventually he rebranded his own server as the Sloomy list. Sephi was a former owner of the list and server. His rise to ownership was very sudden and strange, with going from member to co-owner immediately after offering to change the list formatting. This fast rise, as well as how he just sort of appeared out of nowhere in the community, led people to suspicion that he was an alternate account of someone else. He claimed to have completions of Theory of Darkness and other unrated demons, but these did not have clicks and were considered illegitimate. The first person to come forward with suspicion was Val, known at the time as RFZ. Val claimed that Sephi was an alternate account of Ice Cave due to them having similar thumbnail styles. Eventually, Sephi went completely inactive in all accounts after resigning on the list. After this point, suspicion had all started up again, with Nali finding some evidence that he could have been an alternate account of Akira Kurisu. This is the prevailing theory of his identity as of now. The list currently has 3 levels named Silent Clubstep, but there used to be 2 more, which were terribly decorated levels that weren't even possible, and only added due to the name.
Val was a very problematic user who was extremely toxic towards everyone and constantly got into arguments where he would act racist and sexist. Val was made fun of for having 6 alternate accounts that were all banned from him trying to rejoin to annoy the moderators. The emote, Subduing Cube, is a part of the block design in Subduing Vortex, which looks like a neutral face. It wasn't intentionally made to look like a face. However, it was just a funny coincidence. Soulbreaker is the only level to have its rejection mistakenly put in list updates. Nothing much else to it. Slumber was supposed to be a sequel to Sloom, and a collab at that. Several well-known ILL members were set to be in the level, and it was set to be built in the 1.2 editor, unlike Sloom, which was built for the 1.3 editor. The level was never finished and died. Deadly Club Wolf was the first level to attempt to top Minus Club as the next top 1. Made by Deflo, it was a sequel to Club Wolf. Sadly, the level was forgotten despite being near completion, and there are barely any screenshots of it. It is deemed lost. This Discord channel was created by Nali, who was, at the time, a server moderator, despite being advised multiple times that an international channel wasn't needed. The channel wasn't archived and got deleted, as well as all the messages that were there. Side note, it is the only channel to ever be fully deleted and not archived by the staff at the server. In 2.0, a bug was discovered where if a level was marked as 2-player, all cube portals will act as yellow gravity portals as well, despite not being supposed to switch gravity. Since this bug isn't intentional and is found in a lot of old impossible levels, it is allowed and not counted as physically impossible, as long as the level gets an asterisk by its name. The ILO wiki was made by Nolly and Mouse999, otherwise known as Gaussian, as merely a joke. The only entry on the wikia is a removed ILO level called Circles Unnerfed by Nolly. Ore Creeper was a user who was extremely toxic and said the N-word with a hard R back in 2019. He was banned for that in 2021, making it the most delayed ban in the server's history. While making the update to add world records and FPS values to all list levels, many levels were found to be unreleased and their creators uncontactable. This led to many levels being marked for removal, as no copies existing anymore. One level almost suffered the same fate if it wasn't for disbelief contacted a user called John Cock, who claimed to be friends with its creator and have a copy of the level in question. This caused the level to have its mark removed. Innocence was a level created by Haydendom, inspired by Northern Sense by Electro 2001. Innocence was a level dedicated to Akira Kurisu and using his old username and the level name, but due to the exposure surrounding Akira, the level got deleted and would never be published again. It used to be allowed on the list until Akira's grooming situation came to light, and Hayden asked everyone with a video of the level to private it or unlist it. This, in turn, has caused the level to be very obscure. Salem Club Star is one of 2 levels on the list to have its FPS found by math instead of just brute forcing. The current FPS listed for it is 252 FPS, which was specifically chosen to align all slow speed parts. This was playtested by Doki, however recently Hippo has also playtested it and found that his macro of the level broke at a slow part, which shouldn't have happened. All parts of the level are possible individually, but if it's true that the level breaks on 252 FPS, nobody knows an FPS that aligns all its parts. At the Enemies of Minus Club, there was a very hard to notice Easter egg. If you count all the jumps as 1 and all the times you release, or don't click, as 0, you get the word silent written binary text. Everyone who has ever had the owner role in the server has stepped down from their staff position previously. Almost every co-owner role member has shared the same fate, with the exception of Doki, the most recent co-owner. Ice Carbon Hell, uploaded by Optical, was a level with no known creator. Originally, the upload had written in the description that the level was a re-upload from somebody else, but nobody knew who the original creator was, as they were not credited anywhere. In the comments, the uploader responded to a question with, "So was this a stolen Icemush level?" Icemush, now known as Remy, also known as JK Almina, was asked about this, saying they had no idea who made it either, and it wasn't made by them. The level's creator is lost. Extreme Drive, another level by Optical, was a level that was added to the list back when the list server only had 100 members. Due to RobTop's purchase in 2020, the level was lost and no one had a copy of it or remember what the level actually looked like. The only evidence of it was its placement on the list, which was at top 76. At the time, that was below Zodiac. The first version of the list before the server existed. Nothing else to it. This entry refers to when people looked up shafts on YouTube, and instead of finding the impossible level, some of them found graphic slaughterhouse videos of sheep next to random cartoons and videos. Many of them were several years old and had the shocking content in their thumbnails. Several people from the Silent Level list server found these accidentally, and it became known as the Shafts Gore incident or the Shafts Slaughterhouse incident.
And there you have it, the incredible work in the community creating such an interesting way of viewing Geometry Dash. I would like to thank many of the community members of the community such as Septagon, Trollage, Nali, JK Lima, and the ILL Discord server as a whole. Their help made this video possible, and special thanks to Iwi for editing Layer 2 and also helping out with many other things such as making a thumbnail and giving tons of information for the entries. Thank you so much for watching. More stuff like this is going to be coming soon. Thank you all again for the support.